How did travel restrictions change over time? Have you ever wondered how travel restrictions have evolved, especially under communist regimes? The journey of these restrictions is quite fascinating. In the early 20th century, countries like the Soviet Union and its satellite nations imposed strict controls on their citizens' movements. This was mainly to prevent people from leaving and spreading ideas that could challenge the government. The goal was to maintain control over the population and shield the regime from outside influences. During the Cold War, these travel restrictions became even more stringent. Soviet citizens faced severe limitations on where they could travel, both domestically and internationally. For instance, if a Soviet citizen managed to visit the United States, they were often barred from entering sensitive locations like military bases and industrial sites. This was a reciprocal measure, as Americans faced similar restrictions when trying to visit the Soviet Union. The aim was to protect state secrets and control the narrative surrounding communism. However, the early 1960s brought some changes. The Kennedy administration in the United States lifted certain travel restrictions for ordinary Soviet citizens. This allowed for a bit more freedom of movement, although government officials and reporters were still closely monitored. This shift reflected a cautious attempt at cultural exchange during a time of heightened tension. The most significant changes occurred in the late 1980s. As communist regimes in Eastern Europe began to crumble, travel restrictions started to loosen. Economic struggles and public unrest led to a demand for more freedom. For example, in East Germany, many citizens sought to emigrate to the West. This culminated in the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, when the East German government unexpectedly opened its borders. This moment marked the end of strict travel controls in that region. From the perspective of communist governments, these travel restrictions were seen as necessary to protect the state from external threats and maintain social order. Over time, however, as these regimes faced internal pressures and changes in the global landscape, they began to relax these restrictions. This shift reflected a transformation in political strategies and the eventual dissolution of many communist governments. In summary, travel restrictions under communism started as strict controls to isolate citizens and protect the regime. They experienced some easing during the Cold War and were largely dismantled with the fall of communist governments in Eastern Europe by the end of the 1980s. The evolution of these restrictions highlights the changing dynamics of power and the quest for freedom in societies under communist rule.